Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is an American fantasy drama television series created by David Benioff and D. Weiss. It is an adaptation of A Song of Ice and Fire, George R.R. Martin's series of fantasy novels, the first of which is A Game of Thrones. It is filmed at Titanic Studios in Belfast, on location in the United Kingdom, and in Canada, Croatia, Iceland, Malta, Morocco, Spain, and the United States. The series premiered on HBO in the United States on April 17, 2011, and its sixth season ended on June 26, 2016. The series was renewed for a seventh season, which is scheduled to premiere on July 16, 2017, and will conclude with its eighth season in 2018 or 2019. Set on the fictional continents of Westeros and Essos, Game of Thrones has several plot lines and a large ensemble cast, but centers on three primary story arcs. The first story arc centers on the Iron Throne of the Seven Kingdoms and follows a web of alliances and conflicts among the dynastic noble families, either vying to claim the throne or fight for independence from the throne. The second story arc focuses on the last descendant of the realm's deposed ruling dynasty, exiled and in hiding while plotting a return to the throne. The third story arc centers on the long-standing Brotherhood charged with defending the realm against the ancient threats of the fierce peoples and legendary creatures that lie far north, and an impending winter that threatens the realm. Game of Thrones has attracted record viewership on HBO and has a broad, active, international fan base. It has been acclaimed by critics, particularly for its acting, complex characters, story, scope, and production values, although its frequent use of nudity and violence has attracted criticism. The series has received 38 Primetime Emmy Awards, including Outstanding Drama Series in 2015 and 2016, more than any other primetime scripted television series. Its other awards and nominations include 3 Hugo Awards for Best Dramatic Presentation, a 2011 Peabody Award, and 4 nominations for the Golden Globe Award for Best Television Series, Drama. Of the ensemble cast, Peter Dinklage has won 2 Primetime Emmy Awards for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series and the Golden Globe Award for Best Supporting Actor, Series, Miniseries or Television Film, for his performance as Tyrion Lannister. Lena Headey, Emilia Clarke, Kit Harington, Maisie Williams, Diana Rigg, and Max von Sydow have also received Primetime Emmy Award nominations for their performances in the series. Setting. Game of Thrones is roughly based on the storylines of A Song of Ice and Fire, set in the fictional Seven Kingdoms of Westeros and the continent of Essos. The series chronicles the violent dynastic struggles among the realm's noble families for the Iron Throne, while other families fight for independence from it. It opens with additional threats in the icy north and Essos in the east. Showrunner David Benioff jokingly suggested The Sopranos in Middle-earth as Game of Thrones tagline, referring to its intrigue-filled plot and dark tone in a fantasy setting of magic and dragons. In a 2012 study of deaths per episode, it ranked second out of 40 recent U.S. TV drama series. Themes. The series is generally praised for what is perceived as a sort of medieval realism. George R.R. Martin set out to make the story feel more like historical fiction than contemporary fantasy, with less emphasis on magic and sorcery and more on battles, political intrigue, and the characters, believing that magic should be used moderately in the epic fantasy genre. Benioff said, George brought a measure of harsh realism to high fantasy. He introduced grey tones into a black-and-white universe. A common theme in the fantasy genre is the battle between good and evil, which Martin says does not mirror the real world, just like people's capacity for good and for evil in real life. Martin explores the questions of redemption and character change. The show allows the audience to view different characters from their perspective, unlike in many other fantasies, and thus the supposed villains can provide their side of the story. Main characters are regularly killed off, and this has been credited with developing tension among viewers. The series also reflects the substantial death rates in war. Inspirations and derivations. Although the first season is a faithful adaptation of the novel, later seasons have significant changes. According to David Benioff, the show is about adapting the series as a whole and following the map George laid out for us, and hitting the major milestones, but not necessarily each of the stops along the way. The novels and their adaptations base aspects of their settings, characters, and plot on events in European history. A principal inspiration for the novels is the English Wars of the Roses between the houses of Lancaster and York, reflected in Martin's houses of Lannister and Stark. Most of Westeros is reminiscent of high medieval Western Europe, from lands and cultures to the palace intrigue, castles, and knightly tournaments. The scheming Cersei evokes Isabella, the she-wolf of France. Isabella and her family inspired Martin. Other historical antecedents of series elements include Hadrian's Wall, the Legend of Atlantis, Byzantine Greek fire, Damascus steel, the Colossus of Rhodes, ancient Egypt, the Crusades, Icelandic sagas of the Viking Age, the Mongol hordes, the 100 Years' War, and the Italian Renaissance. The series' popularity has been attributed, in part, to Martin's skill at fusing these elements into a seamless, credible version of alternate history. Cast and characters. Has led the principal cast. Since Season 2, Game of Thrones has an ensemble cast estimated as the largest on television. During its third season, 257 cast names were recorded. In 2014, several actor contracts were renegotiated to include a seventh season option, with raises which reportedly made them among the highest-paid performers on cable TV. In 2016, several actor contracts were again renegotiated, with 5 of the main cast members having increased their salary to £2 million per episode for the last 2 seasons, making them one of the highest-paid actors on television. The main cast is listed below. Lord Eddard, Ned Stark is the head of House Stark, whose members are involved in plot lines throughout most of the series. He and his wife, Catelyn Tully, have 5 children, Robb, the eldest, followed by Sansa, Arya, Bran, and Rickon, the youngest. Ned's illegitimate son Jon Snow and his friend, Samwell Tarly, serve in the Night's Watch under Lord Commander Jorah Mormont. The wildlings living north of the Wall include young Gilly, and warriors Tormund Giantsbane and Ygritte. Others associated with House Stark include Ned's ward Theon Greyjoy, his vassal Roose Bolton, and Bolton's bastard son, Ramsay Snow. Robb falls in love with the healer Talisa Mygear, and Arya befriends blacksmith's apprentice Gendry and assassin Jaqen H'ghar. The tall warrior Brienne of Tarth serves Catelyn and, later, Sansa. In King's Landing, the capital, Ned's friend King Robert Baratheon shares a loveless marriage with Cersei Lannister, who has taken her twin, the Kingslayer Ser Jaime Lannister, as her lover. She loathes her younger brother, the dwarf Tyrion Lannister, who is attended by his mistress Shae and the sellsword Bronn. Cersei's father is Lord Tywin Lannister. Cersei also has two young sons, Joffrey and Tommen. Joffrey is guarded by the scar-faced warrior, Sandor, the Hound, Clegane. The king's small council of advisors includes crafty master of coin Lord Peter, Littlefinger, Baelish and eunuch spymaster Lord Varys. Robert's brother, Stannis Baratheon, is advised by foreign priestess Melisandre and former smuggler Sir Davos Seaworth. The wealthy Tyrell family is primarily represented at court by Marjorie Tyrell. The High Sparrow is the capital's principal religious leader. In the southern Principality of Dorne, Ellaria Sand seeks vengeance against the Lannisters. Across the Narrow Sea, siblings Viserys and Daenerys Targaryen, the exiled children of the last king of the original ruling dynasty, who was overthrown by Robert Baratheon, are running for their lives and trying to win back the throne. Daenerys has been married to Khal Drogo, the leader of the nomadic Dothraki. Her retinue includes exiled knight Ser Jorah Mormont, her aide Missandei and the sellsword Daario Naharis. Conception and development. In January 2006, George R.R. Martin's literary agent sent the first 4 books of A Song of Ice and Fire to David Benioff after a phone conversation. Benioff read a few hundred pages of the first novel, A Game of Thrones, shared his enthusiasm with DB Weiss and suggested that they adapt Martin's novels into a television series. Weiss finished the first novel in maybe 36 hours. They pitched the series to HBO after a 5-hour meeting with Martin in a restaurant on Santa Monica Boulevard. According to Benioff, they won Martin over with their answer to his question, "Who is Jon Snow's mother?" Asked about why they decided to turn the novels into an HBO show instead of a feature film, Benioff said that it would be impossible, considering that the scale of the novels is too big for a feature film, and would mean dozens of characters would be discarded. Benioff also added, "A fantasy movie of this scope, financed by a major studio, would almost certainly need a PG-13 rating. That means no sex, no blood, no profanity. Fuck that." Martin himself was pleased with the suggestion that they adapt it as an HBO series, saying that he never imagined it anywhere else. Before being approached by Benioff and Weiss, Martin had had other meetings with other scriptwriters, most of them wanting to turn it into a feature film. Martin deemed it unfilmable and impossible to be done as a feature film, stating that the size of one of his novels is as long as 3 of J.R.R. Tolkien novels. "I knew it couldn't be done as a network television series. It's too adult. The level of sex and violence would never have gone through." He then went on to say that the only way this could be achieved is if HBO does it. The series began development in January 2007. HBO acquired the TV rights to the novels, and Benioff and Weiss were its executive producers. The intention was for each novel to yield a season's worth of episodes. Initially, Benioff and Weiss were to write every episode except one per season, which was reserved for Martin. Jane Espenson and Brian Cogman were later added to write 1 episode apiece the first season. The first and second drafts of the pilot script by Benioff and Weiss were submitted in August 2007 and June 2008, respectively. Although HBO liked both drafts, a pilot was not ordered until November 2008. The 2007-2008 Writers Guild of America strike may have delayed the process. The pilot episode, "Winter is Coming," was first shot in 2009, after a poor reception in a private viewing. HBO demanded an extensive reshoot. The pilot reportedly cost HBO $5-10 million, and the first season's budget was estimated at $50-60 million. In the second season, the show received a 15% budget increase for the climactic battle in Blackwater. Between 2012 and 2015, the average budget per episode increased from $6 million to, at least, $8 million. The sixth season budget was over $10 million per episode, for a season total of over $100 million and a series record. Casting. Nina Gold and Robert Stern are the series' primary casting directors. Through a process of auditions and readings, the main cast was assembled. The only exceptions were Peter Dinklage and Sean Bean, whom the writers wanted from the start. They were announced as joining the pilot in 2009. Other actors signed for the pilot were Kit Harington as Jon Snow, Jack Gleeson as Joffrey Baratheon, Harry Lloyd as Viserys Targaryen, and Mark Addy as Robert Baratheon. Addy was, according to showrunners Benioff and Weiss, the easiest actor to cast for the show, being that his audition was on point. Catelyn Stark was scheduled to be played by Jennifer Ely, but the role was recast with Michelle Fairley. Daenerys Targaryen was also recast, with Emilia Clarke replacing Tamsin Merchant. The rest of the first season's cast was filled in the second half of 2009. Although many of the first season cast were set to return, the producers had a large number of new characters to cast for the second season. Due to this, Benioff and Weiss postponed the introduction of several key characters, and merged several characters into one or assigned plot functions to different characters. Writing. And wrote one episode for each of the first 4 seasons. Game of Thrones used 7 writers in 6 seasons. Series creators David Benioff and D. Weiss, the showrunners, write most of the episodes each season. A Song of Ice and Fire author George R.R. Martin wrote 1 episode in each of the first 4 seasons. Martin did not write an episode for the later seasons, since he wanted to focus on completing the 6th novel. Jane Espenson co-wrote 1 first-season episode as a freelance writer. Brian Cogman, initially a script coordinator for the series, was promoted to producer for the 5th season. Cogman, who wrote at least 1 episode for the first 5 seasons, is the only other writer in the writer's room with Benioff and Weiss. Before his promotion, Vanessa Taylor worked closely with Benioff and Weiss. Dave Hill joined the writing staff for the 5th season after working as an assistant to Benioff and Weiss. Although Martin is not in the writer's room, he reads the script outlines and makes comments. Benioff and Weiss sometimes assign characters to particular writers. For example, Cogman was assigned to Arya Stark for the 4th season. The writers spend several weeks writing a character outline, including what material from the novels to use and the overarching themes. After these individual outlines are complete, they spend another 2 to 3 weeks discussing each main character's individual arc and arranging them episode by episode. A detailed outline is created, with each of the writers working on a portion to create a script for each episode. Cogman, who wrote 2 episodes for the 5th season, took a month and a half to complete both scripts. They are then read by Benioff and Weiss, who make notes, and parts of the script are rewritten. All 10 episodes are written before filming begins, since they are filmed out of order, with 2 units in different countries. Benioff and Weiss write each of their episodes together, with one of them writing the first half of the script and the other the second half. After that, they begin with passing the drafts back and forth to make notes and rewrite parts of it. Adaptation schedule. Benioff and Weiss intend to adapt the entire, still incomplete A Song of Ice and Fire series of novels for television. After Game of Thrones began outpacing the published novels in the sixth season, the series was based on a plot outline of the future novels provided by Martin and original content. In April 2016, the showrunner's plan was to shoot 13 more episodes after the sixth season, 7 episodes in the seventh season and 6 episodes in the eighth. Later that month, the series was renewed for a 7th season with a 7-episode order. As of 2017, 7 seasons have been ordered and filmed, adapting the novels at a rate of about 48 seconds per page. For the first 3 seasons, the first 2 seasons adapted 1 novel each. For the later seasons, its creators see Game of Thrones as an adaptation of A Song of Ice and Fire as a whole rather than the individual novels. This enables them to move events across novels, according to screen adaptation requirements. Filming at Rasiedwaja, on Gozo, was the site of the Dothraki wedding in Season 1. Principal photography for the first season was scheduled to begin on July 26, 2010. And the primary location was the Paint Hall Studios in Belfast, Northern Ireland. Exterior scenes in Northern Ireland were filmed at Sandy Brae and the Mourne Mountains, Castle Ward, Saintfield Estates, Tollymore Forest, Cairn Castle, the Marramorn Quarry, and Shames Castle. Doune Castle in Stirling, Scotland, was also used in the original pilot episode for scenes at Winterfell. The producers initially considered filming the whole series in Scotland, but decided on Northern Ireland because of the availability of studio space. The first season's southern scenes were filmed in Malta, a change in location from the pilot episode's Moroccan sets. The city of Mdina was used for King's Landing. Filming was also done at Fort Man-Noel, at the Azure Window on the island of Gozo and at San Anton Palace, Fort Ricasoli, Fort St. Angelo and St. Dominic Monastery. Filming of the second season's southern scenes shifted from Malta to Croatia, where the city of Dubrovnik and nearby locations allowed exterior shots of a walled coastal medieval city. The walls of Dubrovnik and Fort Lovrienic were used for scenes in King's Landing and the Red Keep, the island of Lochram, the St. Dominic Monastery in the coastal town of Tregear, the Rector's Palace in Dubrovnik, and the Dubak Quarry were used for scenes set in Carth. Scenes set north of the wall, in the Frostfangs and at the Fist of the First Men, were filmed in November 2011 in Iceland, on the Vatnajökull Glacier near Smyrlabjörg, the Svanorfellsjökull Glacier near Skaftorfell, and the Midralsjökull Glacier near Vikon of the Brekkuheiði. Third season production returned to Dubrovnik, with the walls of Dubrovnik, Fort Lovrienic, and nearby locations again used for scenes in King's Landing and the Red Keep. Tristeno Arboretum, a new location, is the Garden of the Tyrrells in King's Landing. The third season also returned to Morocco to film Daenerys scenes in Essos, Dimmu and the Gjótaya Cave in Iceland were used as well. One scene, with a live bear, was filmed in Los Angeles. The production used 3 units filming in parallel, 6 directing teams, 257 cast members and 703 crew members. Was Lordsport on the Iron Islands. The fourth season returned to Dubrovnik, and included new locations, including Diocletian's Palace in Split, Cleese Fortress north of Split, Perrin Quarry east of Split, the Mosor mountain range, and Baskavoda further south. Thingvellir National Park in Iceland was used for the fight between Brienne and the Hound. Filming took 136 days and ended on November 21, 2013. The fifth season added Seville, Spain, used for scenes of dawn. The sixth season, which began filming in July 2015, returned to Spain and filmed in Girona and Peníscola. Seventh season production returned to Spain, filming in Seville, Cáceres, Almodóvar del Rio, Santi Ponce, Zumaya and Bermeo. Filming of the 7 episodes of Season 7 began on August 31, 2016 at Titanic Studios in Belfast, with location work to be done in Iceland, Northern Ireland, and many locations in Spain. Filming continued until the end of February 2017 as necessary to ensure winter weather in some of the European locations. Directing. Each 10-episode season of Game of Thrones has 4 to 6 directors, who usually direct back-to-back episodes. Alex Graves, David Nutter, and Alan Taylor have directed the most episodes of the series, with 6 each. Daniel Minahan directed 5 episodes, and Michelle McLaren, Mark Mylod, Jeremy Podeswa, Alex Sakharov, and Miguel Sapochnik directed 4 each. Brian Cook directed 3 episodes during the first season, and Tim Van Patten directed the series' first 2 episodes. Neil Marshall directed 2 episodes, both with large battle scenes, Blackwater and The Watchers on the Wall. Other directors have been Jack Bender, David Petrarca, Daniel Sackheim, Michael Slovis and Matt Shakeman. David Benioff and D. Weiss have also directed 1 episode each. Technical aspects. Alex Sakharov was the pilot's cinematographer. The series has had a number of cinematographers, and has received 7 Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Cinematography for a single-camera series nominations. Oral Noreotti, Francis Parker, Martin Nicholson, Crispin Green, Tim Porter and Katie Weiland have edited the series for a varying number of episodes. Weiland received a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Single-Camera Picture Editing for a drama series in 2015. Costumes were manufactured for the series. Michelle Clapton was costume designer for Game of Thrones' first 5 seasons before she was replaced by April the Fairy. Clapton will return to the show as costume designer for the 7th season. The costumes used in the show drew inspiration from a number of sources, such as Japanese and Persian armor. Dothraki dress resembles that of the Bedouin, and the wildlings wear animal skins like the Inuit. Wildling bone armor is made from molds of actual bones, and is assembled with string and latex resembling catgut. Although the extras who play wildlings and the Night's Watch often wear hats, members of the principal cast usually do not, so viewers can distinguish the main characters. Bjork's Alexander McQueen high neckline dresses inspired Marjorie Tyrell's funnel neck outfit, and prostitutes' dresses are designed for easy removal. All clothing used is aged for 2 weeks so it appears realistic on high-definition television. About 24 wigs are used for the actresses, made of human hair and up to in length. They cost up to $7,000 each and are washed and styled like real hair. Applying the wigs is time-consuming. Emilia Clarke, for example, requires about 2 hours to style her brunette hair with a platinum blonde wig and braids. Other actors, such as Jack Gleeson and Sophie Turner, receive frequent hair coloring. For characters such as Daenerys and her Dothraki, their hair, wigs, and costumes are processed to appear as if they have not been washed for weeks. Makeup. For the first 3 seasons, Paul Englund was Game of Thrones' main makeup designer. and prosthetic makeup artist with Melissa Lackerstein, Connor O'Sullivan, and Rob Trenton. At the beginning of the fourth season, Engeland's team was replaced by Dane Walker and her crew, composed of Anne McEwen and Barry and Sarah Gower. Visual effects. For the series' large number of visual effects, HBO hired British-based Blue Bolt and Irish-based Screen Scene for Season 1. Most of the environment builds were done as 2.5D projections, giving viewers perspective while keeping the programming from being overwhelming. In 2011, the Season 1 finale, The Fire and Blood, was nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Special Visual Effects, because the effects became more complex in subsequent seasons. German-based Pixarmondo became the lead visual effects producer. 9 of its 12 facilities contributed to the project for Season 2, with Stuttgart the lead. Scenes were also produced by British-based Peanut FX, Canadian-based Spin VFX, and US-based Gradient Effects. Vala Morgulis and Vala Dahiris earned Pixarmondo Primetime Emmy Awards for Outstanding Special Visual Effects in 2012 and 2013, respectively. For Season 4, HBO added German-based Macrovision to the project. The Season 4 finale, The Children, won the 2014 Emmy Award for Visual Effects. Additional producers for Season 4 included Canadian-based Rodeo FX, German-based Scanline VFX, and US-based Baked FX. The muscle and wing movements of the adolescent dragons in Seasons 4 and 5 were based largely on those of a chicken. Pixarmondo retained a team of 22 to 30 people which focused on visualizing Daenerys Targaryen's dragons, with the average production time per season of 20 to 22 weeks. For the 5th season, HBO added Canadian-based Image Engine and US-based Crazy Horse Effects to its list of main visual effects producers. Thank you for watching. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.